luxury shopping might just be changing forever. This last week, 3 pieces of news dropped, right, that individually may cause such shifts in the way that we shop that things may never be the same again. This might be dramatic. Okay, but let's see as I give you more context on each of the news pieces to see really what the outcomes are. And so we are prepared. I'm giving you the info. I don't like us being here, flustered, something thrown at us and we didn't see it coming. The 3 pieces of news that we're going to be talking about is the Chanel versus what goes around comes around case, Kering pulling their brands from Farfetch, and changes in returns policies that may cause lifetime bans. Today, funnily enough, 2 of the brands involved I work with or worked with, so maybe it's me, maybe I'm the problem, maybe I'm the curse. Guys, if you're new here, my name is Cassie and I'm a self-diagnosed luxury addict. I put out videos on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, so if you like luxury fashion, then you're gonna love it here. So head down there, subscribe, turn on the bell, become a member of our luxury addicted family. When are we going to rehab? Never. Back in 2018, Chanel sued What Goes Around Comes Around. What Goes Around Comes Around is a very sort of like highly regarded, they've been around for 30 years, reseller. The trial started in January, it lasted for about a month, and the court ruled in favour of Chanel on all 4 counts, those being trademark infringement, false association, unfair competition claims, and false advertising. What Goes Around Comes Around was ordered to pay Chanel $4 million in damages. Now, before we go in any further, I'm not a lawyer. I didn't study the law, okay? So I'm going to talk about it from a very high level, Dummy's Guide to Chanel versus What Goes Around, from what I've managed to read on the internet. And also because I'm not a lawyer, this is all alleged. Ha ha ha, don't take me to court, please. There's nothing to take me to court for. So, Chanel accused What Goes Around Comes Around of using Chanel branding and products in their marketing materials, something that a lot of resellers do. So this case not only has kind of repercussions for What Goes Around Comes Around directly, but for resellers, pre-loved websites, all of that business, which is why this was kind of a big deal. So, What Goes Around Comes Around would use Chanel products and the branding for promotion of its own products, because they have Chanel. You understand, you know where we're going. And of course there was a really big part of this that leans into the authenticity of Chanel products sold by What Goes Around Comes Around. Chanel basically argued that only Chanel can guarantee the authenticity of a product. And here again, we've got big issues for the resale market as a whole, because all of that lies on authentication and a trust that comes with that as a consumer, that you are buying an authentic, genuine product. Also, going back to the whole kind of using Chanel trademarking and branding and whatever in their marketing materials, some of the things that kind of came up in this was What Goes Around Comes Around using Coco Chanel quotes on their social media, and also promoting discount codes that had Coco in it, so it was like Coco 10 for 10% off, and also using hashtags that included the words Coco or Chanel. And Chanel basically argued that this causes the customer to think that there is an affiliation between Chanel and What Goes Around Comes Around, even though there is nothing. The best sort of dummies version to this case article that I found is by Glossy. I'll have it linked below, but they basically did a great job breaking this down into words that I could understand. That's worth reading if you don't want to get into the weeds of it, but if you do want to get into the weeds of it, the fashion law kind of has a play-by-play. Chanel is also currently in the throes of suing The RealReal for very similar kind of claims. Going back to the authenticity part, which I think is the part that we'll probably have the most concern about, basically Chanel are arguing that only Chanel can guarantee what are authentic Chanel products, but they also kind of covered 2 areas in this case that What Goes Around Comes Around was selling gifts given by Chanel to VICs, right? So like very important clients, it's Christmas, oh my gosh, thank you so much for spending so much money with us. Here's a little Chanel wallet. I don't know if it's because, again, that's all alleged. Chanel is basically saying that because those items were not intended for sale, they cannot therefore guarantee the authenticity of it because it's not an item for sale. My brain is confused. What Goes Around Comes Around have basically argued that as long as they have acquired these items legally, you know, sold on by VICs to them, they are within their rights to sell these on to anybody that wants to buy them. The other thing is that there are 13 bags, I believe, that Chanel can't guarantee the authenticity on, and because they cannot guarantee the authenticity, they are therefore counterfeit. There's a lot of arguments about, is counterfeit the opposite of authenticity and all of that business, because those serial numbers were voided in the Chanel system, their like authentication system. Those serial numbers were once in the system and are now not in the system. I do want to read you the statement from What Goes Around Comes Around CEO Seth Weiser. He basically said he was disappointed with the verdict, adding that the case is not over. So I'm sure that this isn't the end, basically. Regarding the authentication and them selling counterfeits, allegedly, What Goes Around Comes Around has always had a vigorous authentication process and has never in the history of the company sold a non-genuine or counterfeit product, he said. Today's verdict was not about not selling a counterfeit, it was about What Goes Around Comes Around selling items which were voided in Chanel's database. Without any access to this database, the resale industry will not know the status of these serial numbers. We continue to stand by our 100% authenticity guarantee. Chanel, on the other hand, have said, Chanel is committed to protecting its brand and consumers against counterfeits of its intellectual property that are harmful to the brand. Second-hand platforms, when they operate with transparency about the Chanel branded items they sell and cooperate with the law enforcement and Chanel, can help the fight against counterfeiting. With all of this, there's a lot of speculation about that Chanel basically doesn't like the resale market. They don't like how profitable the resale market has become, what with their price increases. Chanel also doesn't sell online. So for a lot of people, if you don't have a store, if you don't have access to something like that, this is the only way for you to shop Chanel. And they're basically trying to shut down the big players. Just as a point of reference, the resale market is worth 43 billion euros as of last year alone. But what does this mean kind of going forward, buying luxury resale, things like that? There is definitely a level of worry, I'm sure, around resellers, around pre-loved sites and all of that, to make sure that something like this doesn't happen to them. People are more optimistic and pessimistic about it or whatever. I don't really know how to feel. I think we're just going to have to wait to see how things kind of roll out. But there is then this overarching thing of, can anyone other than the trademark owner guarantee authenticity of a product? And then this, you know, obviously has wider ramifications. I don't know. But even things like second-hand car dealerships, can they guarantee that, I don't know, a sodding Range Rover is a Range Rover? And there have been other brands that have taken kind of like second-hand or reselling platforms under their own wing. Oscar de la Renta does this. Gucci Vintage maybe is kind of going down that route. I'm not really sure. Kering pulling their brands from Farfetch. Oh, Farfetch has been going through it. Back end of last year, Farfetch was on the brink of bankruptcy, and then they entered into a deal to be bought by South Korean e-commerce company Coupang. Now, I sort of thought, all right, this is all great, back to business as usual, move on with our lives. Apparently not. Kering have decided to end their direct contract with Farfetch. So, your Saint Laurent, Bottega, McQueen, so basically they would put a lot of their kind of like inventory or catalogue on Farfetch, and if you bought those items they would be fulfilled directly by the brands, whereas we know a lot of Farfetch's kind of like fulfillment is by third-party boutiques, right? They partner with third-party boutiques all over the world, and your order will go to them and they will fulfill it and ship it to you. Kering are wanting to kind of phase out of this contract, I think by the end of Q2 of this year. However, this doesn't mean that you won't see any more Kering brands on Farfetch. You will, but they will be through those third-party boutiques. So maybe the choice will not be as robust and bulked out as it currently is. And this is going to be a big thing for Farfetch because I believe in gross merchandise value. What does that mean? I don't know. This contract was worth about $100 million. I'm always hoping for the best for Farfetch. This is a bit of a weird one, but basically you can face a lifetime ban if you return a lot. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, depending on your behaviour, with returning, you could be in a little bit of a sticky situation, so I am putting this out as a warning. But a lot of people, with the offering of free or low-cost returns by retailers, will basically batch order. So they'll do a huge purchase, have it sent home, try it on in the comfort of your own home, and then they send back the pieces that didn't work out or didn't fit or whatever. A lot of people also like to buy the same piece in a range of sizing because they don't know what size they're going to be. They might not maybe live near to those shops, whatever it might be, okay? There's a range of different reasons why people do this, but it is, you know, a pretty common thing. Brands and online retailers are catching on to this and aren't quite happy about it for a number of reasons. Number one, they are kind of swallowing the costs of people doing this. There are obviously environmental reasons of, you know, returns and post and all of that, and the transportation. In 2023 alone, people returned 743 billion euros worth of merchandise. That's a lot. Now, in this article published by The Cut, they mention a few online retailers like ASOS and all of that, but with luxury fashion, Essence is one that's starting to employ this policy. But there still seems a level of kind of vagueness and unclear as to what is a reasonable amount to return, be that in terms of value, like in terms of purchase value, or in terms of number of pieces and volume. Basically, if they deem that you've been doing this too much, you can have a lifetime shopping ban from shopping on these online retailers. Now, for some of us, it might be easy to kind of change our behaviour and go, do you know what, okay, fine, let me not order 5 sodding different sizes in this top and whatever, or okay, maybe let me go into town and do that one day or whatever, right? But for other people, that's their job in terms of styling, right? Like Christian, he will buy things for his clients, take it to them, they'll try it on, they'll keep the stuff that they love and return the stuff that's not working for them. I've also heard that Saks is employing something like this. I think it's very kind of, I see the pros and cons to both sides of it, right? As in, I understand that there's a lot of cost and environmental cost that goes into returns and things like that, but also some, you know, people have legitimate reasons for doing that as well. It's not just being careless or willy-nilly, you know, a lot of the time. There also appears to be no process in place to dispute this. So let's say you've been given a lifetime ban. There is nowhere for you to go to kind of go, excuse me, these are the reasons why, or give me a chance, or whatever. So again, it's a bit of a weird one, it's a bit of a grey area, but I will continue to update as and when I get more information. There you go, guys, let me know what you think. I'm going to leave a link to another video here in case you haven't already seen it. Have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And in the words of my father,
if you've enjoyed it, tell your friends. If you haven't, keep your mouth shut.
I will see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye, guys.